We do need to do one at the beginning of the meeting.
Usually
Usually
try to put them at the end
where it's not inconvenient, but we have to run the district and this is part of our business. So we're going to step away for an executive session, and that will be based, that is for a reason of personnel. And we will be back pretty quickly. So if you'll bear with us, thank you. You ready? Okay, we're just gonna write that down. Thank you all very much for your patience. That's critically important and it helps us move smoothly, but I know that you're sitting there being. Sarah's going to grab something. So this time right now, we're going to move on to recognition of new staff, teachers, or positions that the administration is interested in presenting this evening.
Thank you, Ms. Crow. We had started the process of recognizing the people that are recommended for new hires on the agenda for the evening. And we have 3 folks here this evening that we would like to introduce to you. We have somebody that Dr. Carnes will introduce. We have somebody that Mr. Meno will introduce, and then somebody that I will introduce at the end. So Dr. Carnes, take it away.
Thank you, Dr. Lane. I'd like to take just a couple of minutes to introduce Brianna Sonny, who is on the agenda tonight to be approved as the literacy coach here in General McLane. Brianna's path to teaching was a bit unconventional. She actually graduated from Edinburgh with a degree in art history. But while she was in college, she was a tutor of other students. She was also a park ranger with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. And there, it was her job to present environmental education programs for the public. And then she also worked as a recreational assistant for the Barber National Institute. And it was in those experiences where she realized that her passion was teaching and working with students. So she went back to Mercyhurst to get her degree in early childhood education and special education. She then came to General McLane, where she was an AmeriCorps member first at Edinburgh Elementary. She left there and was a special education aide in Fort LaBeouf in the emotional support program last year. And then this school year, she's actually been working in General McLane as a math interventionist, again at Edinburgh Elementary. So she is a very familiar face here in the district. And if anybody's been to Edinburgh Elementary and walked down the library hallway, you may have noticed a bunch of math activities on the walls. That was Brianna, who created those on her own initiative. The same thing, she created some school-wide positive behavior videos that were shared with the students at Edinburgh and did a phenomenal job with that as well. So we are really excited. We've gotten to see her work ethic, how she interacts with students, how she interacts with the staff. So we're really excited that she is on the agenda tonight to be approved as the literacy coach. Now, she will be split between McKean and Edinburgh in that role.
Thank you, Dr. Carnes. As you transition the mic there to Mr. Meno, I just wanted to remind the candidates, when we're done introducing you, if you could just come up the stairs here by the podium, and then you'll have the opportunity to come around the inside of the horseshoe here and shake hands and introduce yourselves to the members of the board. We'll do that when everybody's done at the end. Okay, Mr. Meno, are you ready?
Yep. Good evening, everyone. So we have an open social studies position at the high school, the replacement of Brian Woodward in his retirement. We have conducted 2 separate searches for this position. We did an early search for this, and then we had to repost. And we're really excited to welcome Tracy Steers here this evening. Tracy is a graduate of Ashland University, where she earned her Master of Education in Curriculum and Instruction from Gannon University. Her teaching career began at St. Luke's School in Erie, where she taught social studies. She continued teaching social studies at Harding and also at Piper Burley schools in the city of Erie. For the past 6 years, she's been teaching English in the Wattsburg School District. She was the 2023 Pennsylvania Teacher of the Year semifinalist, not an easy task to accomplish. She had been the co-director of the Penn Lake National Writing Project. She served as a district-wide technology integrator, and she was also a Golden Apple Award winner. Her experiences with students, technology, and pedagogy have led us to believe she'll be a great addition to our staff. Her references were outstanding, and they referred to her as a teacher who utilizes a variety of resources. She develops student-centered learning activities, and she is, in quotes, a number of references said, she is the best teacher in our building, and she is the best teacher I know. I thought one of them was going to cry in saying goodbye to his lunch partner. So we are excited to present for you consideration of Tracy Steves.
Thank you, Mr. Minow. The third position we're going to discuss tonight and introduce the candidate that is being recommended is the position of athletic director. The process of hiring the athletic director was challenging in a lot of ways. And I don't mean it was challenging just because of the exceptionally competitive pool of candidates that we had. But it was also challenging because even though he wasn't with us, Rob was really present at every point in this process. And he was really part of it in a lot of ways, and they were bittersweet. And despite all of that, and despite the lasting impact of his loss, I simultaneously could not be more excited to recommend to the board this evening Jamie Soboleski as the athletic director for the General McLane School District. Jamie is probably not a completely unfamiliar name to many of you, as she was the volleyball coach here from about 2003 to 2004. Her picture's hanging in the hallway outside the gymnasium for an undefeated regular season that she had here while coaching. You can check that out sometime when you're cruising the gym. In college, Jamie was a two-sport athlete at Clarion University in volleyball and basketball, where she went on to be a graduate assistant in the women's volleyball and softball before starting her high school coaching career at GM. Because she was a social studies teacher at McDowell, she eventually accepted the head coaching position there, where she had a wildly successful career over the past 19 years. Through the coaching and interview process, her professional coaching career, and through the interview process with us, she continually, at each phase and in almost in every response, demonstrated an understanding of why, in the phrase student athlete, student is first in that, while also crafting a vision of how to support our student athletes and our coaches from the seat of athletic director, and how to help those programs grow for the district. She really brings a collaborative approach to leadership with a proven track record of success, in which she is more than comfortable making difficult decisions and leading in challenging times. I am proud, literally proud as a person and a professional, to recommend Jamie Soboleski as the next athletic director for the General McLane School District. Thank you, and can all the candidates please come on up to the stage.
Thank you. June meetings tend to a little bit of extra information and some extra points because there is so much that happens as we finish the year and get ready for the next one. So if it does appear a little bit out of order tonight, thank you for understanding. At this time, we've had recognition of visitors for matters related to the agenda. We didn't have anyone that was signing up this evening. And so, Sarah, any communications that we need to hear from to share with the board? Oh, I'm sorry.
This communication is from Alice J. Nick. Dear members of the GM School Board and GM community, first, I'd like to thank the board for the opportunity to have my letter read and for their efforts on behalf of GM. I must apologize to our supervisor, board, teachers, and the community at large. I apologize for my assumptions, assuming, I suppose, as most members of the GM community do, that all is well and all are engaged. I apologize for my former lack of attention in our district. I want to be here, to be present here and now, to be effective, to pique your consciences. What do I not want to happen? I don't want to send a letter or to stand up in a meeting to speak and see you silently say to yourselves, oh no, here we go again, it's her. If I could speak in any language in heaven or on earth but didn't love others, I would only be making meaningless noise, like a loud gong or a clanging cymbal. Annoying, yes? The survey regarding the budget, the definition of survey, to look carefully and thoroughly at something or someone, specifically to appraise, evaluate, consider. What do we perceive when we hear the word survey? What is a survey? A research method used for collecting data from a predetermined group of respondents, we, the community. So far, so good. To gain information into various topics of interest. Again, we are thinking in order to appraise, evaluate, consider. Is this what the online survey did? I don't think so. Let's look at it. What did the GM survey do other than make pretty colored graphs during a semi-presentation? Where has it gone? To what end? Surveys can have multiple purposes and researchers can conduct it in many ways depending on the methodology chosen and the study's goals. Oh, the goal. I am particularly sensitive to manipulative attempts. Example, the survey was more of a multiple choice questionnaire presented as a survey. I spent many years in marketing at Xerox Corporation. I'm very familiar with the phrases frame the debate, predetermined boundaries. I recognize a limited universe when I see it, designed to achieve desired results. This survey was a list of predetermined decisions. We were then tasked with deciding which sad decision would be executed first and in what order the other decisions would take place. We are presented with a false narrative and the perception that we, the community, had a say in the decisions, another form of totalitarianism. You know what word I'm trying to say here. Okay. For example, we, the community, parents and teachers alike, have not heard from the pertinent people at the bus garage, the hands-on supervisors, the bus drivers, and the mechanics, those that work daily in transportation. We don't have the full facts in order to appraise, consider, evaluate. Considerations such as route length, maintenance costs, the necessity of new bus purchases, garage upkeep, salaries. Yet we're asked where to rank the dissolution contracting out of their services of their very jobs. Apart from April's meeting, I had not witnessed such an outpouring involvement by teachers at a board meeting. We listened to input from our teaching community. It was much appreciated, encouraging, and enlightening to all of us. Are they thinking we don't want to listen, that we don't care about their livelihood? Oh no, we welcome teacher participation. Regarding teachers on the survey, we are asked to rank the cancellation of advanced classes, whether to choose, close, or combine elementary schools, increase class sizes, relocate entire grades, to move teachers about to teach classes for which they are not certified in order to keep their jobs. I know about emergency certification. Limit salaries, mandate collective bargaining. All the while, the teachers are being forced to adhere to policies that take up valuable class time to advance non-instructional indoctrination in order to obtain the ever-elusive and decreasing federal and state funding, to accept chosen curriculum backloaded with doctrinal themes and distorted mores. We would love to hear more from our teachers about what's really going on, to have a back and forth dialogue. Maybe our teachers would speak more if they were aware that they could hold on to more of their own money through 4kidsandcountry.org, a grassroots movement giving teachers exit strategies with affordable insurance plans and employment advocacy with them as a priority, not a faraway union promoting federal mandates. opting out of a union with goals that do not translate to their benefit, enabling them to be free to express themselves without fear of retribution. We want them to have to do what they do best and find most rewarding, to do their job, to teach, to go home, have a life, and not suffer tyranny. We are tired of the high-handed approach of our board and supervisor. Instead of having an interactive dialogue with our supervisor and board, we receive directives. Our board is led to vote to not to allow questioning of their decisions and only offers limited scripted feedback. We are relegated to the position of silent observers, having our parental rights usurped by a misguided legislative group. We are here and now, and we are paying attention. Thank you, Alice J. Nick.
Thank you. At this time, we will have consideration of the minutes of the regular monthly study session, as well as the limited monthly agenda meeting that occurred on May 11th. We will also consider the minutes of the regular monthly meeting that occurred on May 18th, 2022. Those draft minutes have been available by Sarah on the website. Did anyone have any changes or modifications or needed? Motion has been approved by Dr. Wise. Is there a second? All in favor of approving the minutes as posted on the website? Aye. Opposed, same sign. I will pause. We have a phone caller, so you guys remember I have to pause. Just so we can remember that. Dawn, okay. Yes, thank you, Dawn. You know that I need to learn it just one time. Thank you. All right, so and then at this time we will also have an appointment. Oh, I'm sorry, did I finish the vote? Yes, okay. Sorry about that, everyone. Okay, at this time we will appoint the school board secretary through the June 30th, 2027 school year. This is just a matter of housekeeping that needs to occur for PSBA. And so therefore, is there a motion to approve Sarah Grabsky as the school board secretary through the June 30th, 2027 period? For a discussion? Sarah, we really appreciate everything you do, and this would be the easiest one for most of us, and Dr. Lane wouldn't have it any other way, I assume. And so thank you for all your service. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed. Thank you. And now at this time, we will move on to Dr. Lane's report.
Thank you, Ms. Crow. For the superintendent's report this evening, it's going to be a little non-traditional. And that's not just because it's June and we're not seeing reports from the buildings or teachers or from our students. But instead tonight, we're going to take some time to recognize 3 people who have made seemingly immeasurable contributions to the General McLane School District. We're going to do this on behalf of the board. But personally, I'd like to say that these 3 people are really part of the reason that I wanted to work here. Because knowing them professionally and having the opportunity to work with them personally and professionally, I thought would be the chance of a lifetime. And I certainly was not wrong in any way. So I'd like to start with Pam Mikowski. Thanks for being here tonight, Pam. Pam, we have discussed Pam's retirement at the when her retirement was approved, but I don't think we know everything about Pam that we should know. Pam graduated from Mercyhurst with a degree in business education and was hired as the business education teacher in August of 1983, just like it was yesterday, for $11,550 was what she started with at that time. Pam transitioned into administration in the 13-14 school year when she was unanimously appointed as the full-time associate principal to General McLane High School later on in 2017. Pam's retirement concludes 39 years of service to the district. From an observation from a supervisor in 1983, commented and said, Pam, you are very positive in your interactions with students. You offer a lot of positive verbal reinforcement and smile a lot. Students react well to you and are anxious to volunteer in your class. You do a very nice job with these students. You seem to enjoy working with this age level and have a solid background in business education. don't know if you remember that from 1983. And then in 1984, Mr. Ickes wrote, "For a beginning teacher, you're doing an excellent job. You are showing some of the polish and style only teachers with several years of experience would have. It's good to have you at GMHS." I would just like to say, little did they know how good we had it and how right they were. Pam, I really don't have the words to personally or professionally thank you for what you've given to the school community. But on behalf of the district, I'd like to thank you personally and professionally for being a continual positive influence in the lives of our students, and by being the consummate professional and caring person that you are. Pam, thank you. Randy White. We presented Pam and Randy with some official representations from the district, and had some time with them. But we also do have some cards for you here tonight that we'd like to share with you. So if you could come over when I'm done talking about Randy, we'd like to give those to you as well. Then. Randy was first approved in the General McLane School District as a substitute teacher in 1989. Another thing like it was yesterday. He was hired as a teacher assigned to Edinburgh Elementary School in August of 1990, making a whopping $21,204, considerably more than Pam did in 1983. Randy would serve as a first grade and second grade teacher at Edinburgh Elementary until July of 2001, at which time he moved on to direct educational ministries at McLean Church. And even though he left teaching, he couldn't quite get away from GM because he served on the school board as well when he wasn't teaching. Randy was rehired as a teacher at Edinburgh Elementary in July of 2008 and hired as principal at Edinburgh Elementary in November of 2010. I'm really sorry, Randy, that you weren't as effective as Pam, because in his 1990 classroom observation, Randy was docked for not including his objectives in his lesson plans. But apparently things got a little bit better because from an observation upon his return, his supervisor said that Randy has a very comfortable, relaxed, and confident way with his students. And as a result, they're focused, involved, and excited to learn. So Randy, I'm glad to see that you've improved when you got back. Randy, it also goes without saying that none of this does justice to really what you've done for the district, the students, the teachers, or the families here. The culture of caring that you created at Edinburgh Elementary School is something special, and it's not something that we or anybody should take for granted. So personally, I thank you for who you are and all that you've brought to us. And so on behalf of the General McLane School District, Randy, thank you. That's 2 of 3. So tonight we are also going to recognize our solicitor, Mr. Jim McDonald. Jim, we all have a lot of things so that we could and want to say about you. But a lot of it, if I could just paraphrase, and I just want to summarize, is said on this plaque that we have for you. And there's 2 things I would like to note. But first, I would just like to read from here this plaque presented to Mr. McDonald. There's some good history on here that I'm not sure that everybody knows, that I think if you care about General McLane, this is worth knowing. This plaque is to Mr. Jim McDonald, visionary, legal and educational advocate, scholar, humanitarian, philanthropist, and community leader for 54 years of faithful service to the General McLane School District. In 1968, this is on the plaque here that I'm reading from. In 1968, Jim McDonald established the General McLane School District into existence. He argued in court that General McLane could have the educational quality desired by the state without having to join the Northwestern School District. He traveled to Harrisburg to argue the case in front of the State Board of Education, and General McLane School District was established on March 14th, 1969. He has been a rock and a steadfast pillar to the General McLane community ever since. Every single student who has walked through General McLane doors since 1968 has benefited from the services of Mr. McDonald. There is not a General McLane contract. Mr. McDonald has not played a role in negotiating. He has offered advice, support, and loyalty to GM for 54 years. There's a proverb on here. The point of the proverb or any kind of saying that you include in this is that in a few amount of words tries to capture a lot. And this Chinese proverb says, if you're planning for a year, sow rice. If you're planning for a decade, plant trees. If you're planning for a lifetime, educate people. So Jim, we present this plaque in your honor with our deepest appreciation and internal gratitude. This is one thing. I have one more thing to say, but Jim, congratulations.
over all of these years, and I just can't tell you what a rock and a tree it has been in my whole practice life. And I over the years, and it didn't take long, I learned that when we get together and discuss things, it was we and not something that I was suggesting, not I, but we, and the reciprocation by the board members and the administrators was always the same. Thank you so much. I really appreciate this, and I'll never forget it. I'll never forget any of you.
I'm sorry, yes. Jim, as we said with Pam and Randy, there aren't adequate gestures to demonstrate our love and appreciation for what you have meant to the district. But in addition to this plaque, we wanted to establish something here as well. We've not always had, as many of you know, school board meetings here in the auditorium. They were for many years in a room back in the education center. But aside from board meetings, really all the other official district business is still conducted in that room. So tonight, Jim, we are dedicating that room to you. And from this point forward, it will forever be known as the James McDonald Boardroom. And when we head back there tonight for the retirement reception after this meeting, this plaque you don't get to take with you. This one's going to go up on the wall in your name, in your honor, forever outside that room. Jim, all of what was said is just on behalf of the district, but I also want to thank you personally for this year, for the guidance and feedback that you have provided me. And I know literally like none of us would be doing what we're doing now if you had not done what you did. And that's an incredibly special thing for which I'm eternally grateful. And now I believe Ms. Crow had a few thoughts as well.
Thank you all. This is really important to me to share some of this because some people might not hear all this information, and it's important. Everybody should understand the gentleman and the man that we have in Jim McDonald. And Matt, you didn't mention he's also a gentleman farmer. He has over his career 2 different law firms that he's established. He still found a way to always be a gentleman farmer, which is really impressive. Steadfast dedication and longevity are important keys to GM success. And while most districts, including neighboring districts, deal with constant turnover of staff, leadership, GM has something that no one else can say. In our 50 years of service, of our 50 years of existence, Dr. Lane is the only 6th superintendent, and Jim has been our only solicitor. And when you look at Randy and Pam this evening, or look around even to the board members and other people that are here, Dan gets a lot of credit as well. He's been here a long time now as a teacher and administrator. It really does come down to longevity and dedication, and that was the key of success. Sorry, Jim McDonald is truly a renowned name among attorneys far and wide, respected by all, described as brilliant, cutting edge, thorough, honorable, somehow very good with technology, which is very impressive, a true gentleman. And if you were ever on the other side of him in a courtroom, you were nervous because you weren't gonna win. I've known him for a long time, way before I was on school board. And this man who interned at the Supreme Court in his early career knows his stuff, has never slowed down, has never steered us wrong. Jim is truly the GM founding father, and it needs to be recognized that way. This district literally would not exist without the forward thinking 54 years ago and the staunch efforts of Mr. McDonald. In fact, we wouldn't even have the name General McLane if it was not for Jim McDonald. It could never be overstated how much Jim has done for this district. By giving sage, incredibly well-researched opinions, he has helped keep us on track, out of trouble, and with his true brilliance and steadfast advice. And that's not all. I cannot share how Jim's pure affection and dedication to GM he has shown us in so many ways, specifically his law firm, and he and his lovely family have been continuous financial supporters of GM via annual contributions to the GM Foundation, or even larger project donations for things such as Linden Field or other things that we needed in our district. Jim McDonald, General McLane could not thank you enough. And Jim McDonald, I cannot thank you enough. Thank you. There's a lot of words that need to be said for that kind of service. So thank you all for allowing me to share that as well. Anything else for the superintendent's report? All right, and now let's review and consider the financial reports, accounts payable, cafeteria accounts payable as of June 2022, and accounts paid and a cafeteria accounts paid prior to the board meeting in May 2022. Mr. Fenton, take it away. Should I just need a microphone?
Okay, thank you very much. You should see on the screen the treasurer's report for the month of May. At the end of May, the general fund had about $14.5 million. It's down about $1.5 million from last month. Capital reserve had about 6.4 million. That's down from 6.9 million. And I'll show you the reason for that a little bit later. The cafeteria fund, $26,000 at the end of May, and the two student activity funds, almost $100,000 at the end of May. Here's the graph of the revenues and expenses, and you can see in May the expenditures on the red line were above the revenues, and therefore the purple line came down again. This month, in the month of May, the revenues about 764,000, and the expenditures 2.8 million dollars. Revenues here, total revenues last year to date was 27.4 million. This year up about almost $600,000 to 27.9 million. And there's about 6.4 million left in the budget to be received this year. Expenses. Last year, 28.5 million through May. This year, 29.8 million. That's an increase of about 1.2 million. And there's about 8.4 million left in the $38 million budget for this year. Payments since the last board meeting, about $798,000. And we have another $245,000 that will go out the door tomorrow in checks. There's capital reserve. And you can see there in May, we had the most recent installment of almost $600,000 for the Erie County Tech School project. And that's why the balance came down this month. Cafeteria. Cafeteria had a good year, and whoever said there's no such thing as a free lunch never heard of the federal government. And the subsidies they gave us to cover student lunches were incredible, and they resulted in the cafeteria having a net income of almost $250,000 before transfers. And we had $250,000 come in, so we had almost $500,000 positive in the cafeteria fund this year. Okay, this is a list of cafeteria payments since the last board meeting, almost 40,000. And as is typical, the big payments were to the food and beverage suppliers, U.S. Foods, Turner Dairy, and Pagodas were the big three for payments this year. We have about $22,000 going out the door tomorrow from the cafeteria fund. Here you see the Parker Middle School student activity reports. And we started the year with about $54,000 and ended the year with about $60,000 total in the Parker Middle School student activity accounts. The disbursements column that are shown there, here is the detail listing all the disbursements from the Parker Middle School accounts. The high school student activities started the year with about $33,000, ended the year $39,000. And you can see the pluses and minuses that occurred during the month of May for the high school activities. And here is the list of the detailed expenditures from the student activity accounts, $9,000. That is everything for the financials.
Are there any questions for Bill? Is there a motion to approve? Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed. All right, now we'll move on to the committee reports. Policy co-curricular activities committee, Mrs. King had a flight delay today, so she did apologize at the last minute. Mrs. Gould, would you be so kind as to do the report this evening?
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you. The committee moves to approve the following athletic supplemental contracts for the 22-23 school year and the 21-22 winter spring evaluations as outlined in A and B. There's a long list there.
Okay. Discussion? Oh, do we have a second? I'm sorry, Sherry, do you want a second? Okay. Discussion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
Number two, the committee moves to approve the following athletic volunteers to volunteer for the 22-23 school year with the listed programs. Those are outlined in A through double D.
Discussion. Sherry, did you second that? Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, so we had one abstention. Sorry about that.
Are we approving the athletic director here? For number three? That's not, should I just make the motion? It's not, the sentence isn't complete. Committee moves to approve to hire the athletic director, Jamie Sobolewski. Sorry if I butchered that. That was in the form of a motion.
Discussion. All in favor? Aye.
Number four, the committee moves to approve an agreement with the Erie County Health Department as outlined in A, B, and C. This is a community health worker for $42,000 salary will be paid for by the Erie County Health Department. Contract will be effective August 1, 22 through July 31, 2023.
Discussion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
The committee moves to approve the following supplemental resignation as outlined in A. Sonia Gross from the Assistant Band Director position, effective May 31st, 2022.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed. And as that concludes Mr. Petula's report, we will move on to
That
finance
concludes my report. Thank you.
district operations. Mr. Lofgren.
Thank you, Ms. Crowe. Number one is a significant motion for the budget, so we have a vote.
Can I, just real quick, just to explain to the audience, there are a couple votes that are critically important that we feel that are critically important. And so a roll call vote means they ask us individually what our votes are so that everyone knows exactly how we felt, each individual person on that, or how we voted for that role. So it is, this one's a little bit more of a complicated vote. So if you're following along, but that's what that means, just so you know, roll call vote. Thank you. Go ahead, Luke. I'm sorry.
The committee moves to approve the final 2022-2023 budget, which includes real estate tax rate of 13.84 mils, which is a 4.6% increase, which is 0.6 mils. Discount penalties installments are the same as 21-22. Revenues are projected to then be 34 million, 34.4 million approximately, and the expenditures are expected to be about 36 and 3/4 million. That's outlined in the motion, including D, E, and F. Discussion.
Well, I'm sorry.
I got it.
Okay, well, are we gonna do, this is the vote where we go, did you set that up? So did you explain to them, you go 1, 2, 3, you vote for, yeah,
We only have one.
we're only gonna do the. I'm
This is the
sorry,
motion.
I gotta be honest with you, I'm looking at the,
An old one. Okay, no problem.
thank you, Luke, sorry about that.
No problem. Any other discussion?
No, are you okay to, go ahead and let her start the roll call, because I interrupted you twice.
That's fine. That's why I want to make sure everybody who is in.
So Dana, and then anyone else, is there any, do you have any confusion about how, like, the vote or how it works? The one, yeah, that's mine. Okay. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passed. Thank you, Luke.
All right, number 2, the committee recommends a motion to approve the homestead and farmstead real estate tax assessment reductions for the year beginning July 1st, 2022. This is outlined in A through E, but it's basically things that are prepared by the Commonwealth Legislature and we just have to confirm and approve it.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
Number 3, the committee moves to authorize administrators to dispose of various records in accordance with district policies and guidelines, and that's the key constraint of this motion.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
Number 4, the committee moves to authorize the Director of Business and Operations to sell or otherwise dispose of various surplus materials, supplies, and/or equipment from district buildings. There's a further detail on that. I'll go ahead and just read it real quick. District employees identified items they did not need or want. The items were first made available to employees for use within the district. Items with perceived value being made available to employees and the general public for sale and for free. The district will then properly dispose of electronics or hazardous materials and deposit the remaining items in the dumpster.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
All right, number 5, the committee moves to authorize administrators to secure bonds as listed below. School code requires bonds for the board secretary and board treasurer, but the board may choose to bond the director of business and operations at its discretion. The district's liability insurance policy includes coverage for all other employees. The ones listed are the board secretary for $100,000, board treasurer for $25,000, and director of business and operations for $100,000.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
Number 6, the committee moves to appoint the following delegates to the Erie County Tax Collection Committees for July 1st through 2022 through June 30th, 2023 fiscal year. So correction to the what's written there. As outlined in A through C, which includes primaries, Nintendo, secondary, first alternate is Luke Hoffman, and then our second alternate is the Erie County Tax Collection.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
Number 7, the committee moves to approve the annual independent audit of the Erie County Tax Collection District for the year ending December 31st, 2021. They had an unqualified opinion as outlined in A and B.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
Committee moves to approve the annual independent audit of Berkheimer Tax Innovations Tax Officer for the Erie County Tax Collection Committee for the year ending December 31st, 2021, as outlined in A and B, also unqualified.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
Number 9, the committee moves to approve the annual Systems and Organizations Controls Report of H.A. Berkheimer, Inc., Berk One, Inc., and Tax Systems of Pennsylvania, Inc. for the year ended December 31st, 2021. As outlined in A and B.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
Number 10, the committee moves to approve the following non-instructional employee as outlined in A through C.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed.
Number 11, the committee moves to ratify the following non-instructional unpaid leaves of absence as outlined in A through C.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
The committee moves to ratify the following non-instructional FMLA leave of absence as outlined in A through C.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
Number 13, the committee moves to ratify the following individuals for the non-instructional substitute employee call list as outlined in A through E.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
Number 14, the committee moves to approve salary adjustments for Act 93 employees and the Director of Business and Operations as discussed in the executive session last week.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I apologize. I didn't realize that was out there. Okay. Yep. So, very understandable. Motion passed though, nonetheless. Okay.
Number 15, the committee moves to appoint the following individuals as part of the Board of Trustees of the General McLane School District Foundation: Richard Walker and Richard Hines.
May and I'm gonna insert some discussion here because this is actually something that I meant to grab
Second.
in a different way. Oh, sorry.
No.
So here's what we need to all understand is the General McLane Foundation charter is set up that the school district, or I'm sorry, the school board approves the trustees for the foundation, you know, for the trustees. And so our reorganization is in July. We'd like to get this, we need to get it approved ahead of time. So I meant to put this a little bit on the agenda sooner. Richard Walker is one of the founding members actually, and he is a member that's been on for a very long time, and he just needs to renew his post. Richard Hyam is new to us. We have, you know, reached out to whoever we could find that might be willing, and Mrs. Rummel came across Richard Hines, who's very excited about joining the foundation. He actually endowed one of our funds, the Jerry Engler Fund. He's a retired GM teacher who spent his career at GM. He lives in Edinburgh. He's very passionate about the district, and he feels now he has time to dedicate. And what he brings to us is something we need desperately, which is some organizational skills. More than the fundraising, we need people, we need someone to just help with organizing, letter sending, and that kind of thing. So he does bring something to the table that we're very interested in. I just wanted to know the background of who those individuals are in that situation, why we're bringing them to you today. And so if there's no other discussion or questions about those individuals, maybe go ahead and vote. All in favor of Richard Walker and Richard Hines serving for the General McLane Foundation for a 3-year term beginning in July. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you.
That concludes my report.
Thank you, sir. Dana. Hello. I was just going to start it on. The Curriculum Instruction Committee matters. Mrs. Dana Miller, Chairperson. Take that.
Number 1, the committee moves to approve the following requests for tuition acceptance for the 2022-2023 school year as outlined in A and B.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed. Number 2.
The committee moves to approve the following recommendations for open positions for the 2022-2023 school year as outlined in A and B.
Discussion. All in favor? Aye.
I am abstaining.
Well, so we say aye and then we're there again, and then we say no, and then I'll say abstain and Dana's that's Dana's first abstention. So thank you. She will fill out a form and explain. Thank you, Dana.
Number 3, the committee moves to approve the following FMLA maternity leaves as outlined in A and B.
Discussion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
Number 4, consideration of approval of retirement for Mrs. Ume has notified the board that she intends to retire at the end of this fiscal year, 2021-2022 school year.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
Number 5, the committee moves to ratify the following unpaid FMLA maternity leave extensions as outlined in A through E.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
The committee moves to approve curricular supplemental contracts for the summer of 2022 as follows, as outlined in A through B.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
Number 7, the committee moves to approve curriculum revision and adoption for social studies courses as follows. A is Geography of Western World, Eastern Hemisphere, U.S. History 8th grade, U.S. History 1, U.S. History 2, Social Conflict, Current Affairs, as presented in the curriculum revision.
Discussion?
on I had the committee, the curriculum committee reviewed it. I have reservations about specifically social conflict, just because I believe that there's some amount of ambiguity in a touchy subject, and so I would prefer to be able to vote on that one separately, but I can vote against the whole motion if that's basically I'm requesting to pull that one out as a separate vote.
Would you? Dana, would you, I mean, just for the sake of ease, I guess, we're not gonna do every single one of these. Would you mind going A through E and then G and H, and then I guess we'll just have a separate vote for.
So I read it again, just those ones that again.
Yeah, just say we're gonna vote on, yeah, you're gonna, well, we already said what you're gonna do. How does she have to do this thing? Okay, all right, so we agree, we all agree we're separating the one. Dana, if you would like to just restate that you're going just those letters and then offer another vote for social conflict. And that was seconded by Dr. Wise, so.
Committee moves to approve the curriculum revision and adoption for social studies courses as follows. A, Geography of Western World. B, Eastern Hemisphere. C, U.S. History. D, U.S. History 1. E, U.S. History 2. G, Current Affairs. Presentation on curriculum.
And it was. Yeah, you're including G and H, and you seconded that, correct? Okay, all in favor as presented? Aye. Opposed, same sign, motion passed.
The committee moves to approve the curriculum revision and adoption of social studies courses for social conflict.
All in favor? Aye. Of course. Opposed? Social, I'm sorry, motion passed. I'm sorry, 6-2, motion passed. Okay, now we're gonna move on to number 8, correct?
The committee moves to approve the adoption of resources by social studies departments as follows, outlined in A through G.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
The committee moves to approve the transition program operating agreement for the Erie County Technical School for the 2022-2023 school year. As outlined in A through B.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
The committee moves to approve the following employees for tenure as outlined in A through B.
Discussion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
Number 11, the committee moves to approve the state-required special education plan as part of Future Ready and Comprehensive Planning as outlined in A.
Discussion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
Number 12, the committee moves to approve the following employee resignations for Mrs. Ashley Armstrong, has submitted her letter of resignation effective the end of 2021-2022 school year.
Discussion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed. Thank you. Now we will move on to other reports. Intermediate unit number 5, Mr. Patullo.
Hello again. The IE5 board met on May 25th. Pretty short meeting, not a whole lot to report. The biggest thing I wanted to mention was that there was one new position approved. That's an early intervention teacher. As I reported a couple months ago, the need for early intervention has increased substantially this year. All of the current teachers are maxed out with their workloads, and some are over their workloads. So that's of concern to us because that will presumably cascade into the elementary level in a couple of years. So I want to keep an eye on that. There were some other new employees hired, all replacements for vacancies. There was a hard of hearing or deaf teacher hired, ASL, and they were pretty happy about that because apparently that position is really hard to hire for. It's hard to find qualified people to do that. 3 speech language pathologists were hired. We got a couple of updates for the conference room renovation going on. They're installing a multi-factor authentication for logins. They're replacing some of the vehicles, 5 years old. We had some nominations. Andy Puschak is nominated, and we will vote on these next month. Andy Puschak from Wattsburg will presumably serve as the president. He's currently the president now. Paul Mangione from Warren School District is the VP. The next meeting is on June 22nd. For the meal, we had another chicken salad, and I was okay with that. There was for dessert a strawberry shortcake, but my wife ate it out from underneath, so I can't report on that. So I apologize. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Brad, may I ask you, are the IU individuals back to work? Do they work in the office full time again? Okay. And what was decided with, I mean, I know it was up until not that long ago, they were not still, in the offices. And then what happened with the money that they were going to, was a vote taken on that? There was like some ESSER funds or something that they were going to give to, as bonuses. Cheers. Thank you so much. Erie County Road Tech, Dr. Wise. All right. Excellent. There's always next month. Legislative Council report, Mr. Lyle.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Crowe. Sorry, I had the mic off. The legislative items for this week are, first of all, there's a couple emails that you all should have from PSBA. Actually, there's lots of emails. Find one that has the legislative platform, and please take some time to submit so that you can influence PSBA on what they advocate for. That is an opportunity for each individual school board member to express the priorities from their perspective. And I believe that that is significant to help with the resources that PSBA deploys and how they target those. Additional to that, if you find there's also voting on the delegates for the 2022 delegate assembly. So that's secondary to me, but try to get your voice, your survey in on the legislative platform. Obviously, the season we're in right now is the budget season. We can always hope they pass it earlier, but we passed a budget without having the final numbers from the Commonwealth. But there's a lot of money slushing around in Harrisburg at the moment, so hopefully they will see fit to send some more of it to the school district's direction just to make it easier on our budget. But the only other minor item is just that there had been some charter schools, some fairly nibbling around the edges, things that Governor Wolf had been proposing for regulation. It actually looks like right now the legislature may suspend those or cause those to not go into effect. So just kind of a recent update push-pull on charter school regulation. Wasn't really dramatically significant things that would affect how charter schools work, but it is interesting that the legislature is pushing back. So that is my report for this.
Thank you. Thank you. As it relates to the General McLane Foundation, we had a meeting very recently because we had to approve scholarships before graduation. I guess I've come to the realization I've been using this opportunity to just report on what's going on for the board. I'm sorry, for the foundation. As a trustee, I'm also the vice chair of the foundation. I've been on that for about 8 years at least, I think now. And when I got on, we had about $400,000 in fund access. We met once a quarter. In the last couple years, we are now under a hair $950,000. Our foundation is almost valued at $1 million. It happened quickly. It is snowballing. And I feel like it is really important and imperative at this time for me to take on more of an advocacy role. And that's going to start with coming to the board and asking for support for your foundation in a real minor way. But for example, we've been asking for quite some time, and we have not been, no one has said no. It's not that we've had a problem, it's just hasn't been a lot of focus. And I understand the foundation is sort of a sidearm that takes up some time, but we are desperate for some space. We need a closet. We understand space is tight. However, past requests have gone unanswered and we need it. So I'm going to start being a little bit more vocal. We need to get a couple things handled to make the foundation even better. I'm not asking for anything in particular at this time. I just want to give you a heads up that our foundation is really moving and rolling and shaking. And I ask that you tune in a little more because some requests are coming. We have 8, maybe 7 really active volunteers that are involved, and somehow it is still just ultimately moving along with great success. I'm sure Dan can agree somehow, but we need more help. We got to find a way to find it, but maybe a collaboration with the district, with a, maybe a payout. The foundation can, assist with maybe a supplemental contract or someone help us. We are just losing control of it. So in the next few months, you might just hear a little bit about that. I just feel like I wanted to give you guys a heads up that I feel like I need to advocate a little bit more for our foundation. That being said, our golf outing is on July 16th, July 16th. Still looking for foursomes, still looking for prizes, and still looking for sponsors and whole sponsors. Please donate if you can. That is a big fundraiser, and due to Mr. Meno, Sarah's, so many other people, I can't leave it there, but we have so many people involved at this point, and John Hansen's coming back to the Brother Golf outing. We're set up for continued success. So we're going to look for that favor maybe in the next 7 months. And that being said, I've never given such a long report, but it's time. It's important. So thank you all for listening. Other business. And if there is no other business, then we would have a recognition of visitors for school-related matters at this time. This is for items that are not on the agenda. I believe we might have a speaker this evening. If we do, that individual has oh, I'm sorry. Is anyone speaking this evening? Okay. All right. One. Okay. I just wanted to be sure. I wasn't sure if you said you weren't. Come again? Oh, okay. Was there anyone else that did want to speak this evening? The matter is not related to the agenda.
Thank you, Tess. I just wanted to go over the curriculum and instruction committee matters, number 4. I know Dr.
Mary, please stop. We need to go into executive session. You can comment to us, but
Thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
for explaining that.
Okay.
Yep.
So if you'll just hold on,
Yep.
and set that one aside. And thank you. Just, yeah. All right, then we'll have, notifications of is there anything else, any other speakers besides Carrie that does not need to occur in executive session? And there is, and if there is no other, we will have notifications of meetings held since our last regularly scheduled board meeting of May 18th. We also had regular monthly study session of June 8th. We also had a policy and co-curricular activity committee and curriculum and instructional committee and finance and district operation committee all occurred on June the 8th. And with that, we will go to, okay. Yes, that's about, okay. That sounds great. What we are actually going to do is a little bit something on the out of the ordinary. We're actually, because we don't have another place to move because our band is practicing where we would have our executive session. So we're actually going to ask the audience to leave, and we're going to ask Carrie to stay. and then after that, there will be no other votes, and we will promptly adjourn from this meeting. So thank you. And thank you all for coming. We really do appreciate your paying attention and your participation this evening.
can I do one before the executive session? Okay, so I was just gonna say, because this is nothing about employees or anything. About the social